Good morning. Good morning. Hope you're all well. Thanks for joining the live stream. If you are one of the people here joining the stream live, make sure that if you'd like to join in the discussion and ask a question or add something to the topic, make sure you add three smiley faces, emojis before your question. If you're here, if you're commenting, add three circle smiley faces, and then I'll be able to see it during this amongst all of the text. So let's get right into the topic, which is people telling you what you should want, not just what you should do, but really telling you your values, what's right and what's wrong, regardless of your curious mind looking in the mirror and deciding, no, I like this and I don't really like this. There's objective truth out there. You know, the sky is blue. But there's also what you value. You know, what's true in terms of how you want to spend your time, what people suit you and what don't. If you're an introvert, being around extroverts all the time really is against your nature. And I think the rules that people give or impose and push on other people can really go against you finding some form of happiness with a person or in your life. A good example is your parents always pushing you, you need to become a doctor or you need to marry and have children. Regardless of your nature, how you want to live, even if you respect your parents, it's almost like you're being blackmailed by well-meaning people. And they don't even realize they're bullying you and blackmailing you. They mean well, but they are bullying you. And later on, it's too late when they've traumatized someone to the extent later on where a person is unable to have a healthy relationship with someone else. So I want to discuss this, people imposing what you should want. Now, you should be doing this. This is the way you should be dating. This is the direction in life you should be going. This is how you should live. This is how you should eat. And for the person that's not only got a curious mind like myself, and I'm assuming a lot of people who watch my content, who really want to find a philosophical way through things. I think especially in today's world with media telling you what you should want, how you should live, what is correct, what isn't correct, what's real, what's not, what you should love, what you should hate. You know, morbidly obese people are beautiful. A man is a woman, all that kind of stuff. Like telling you what you should want, what is beautiful, what is attractive, what you should be, what your script of life and your ethics and moral value should be. And after a while, you just say what you're supposed to say because you don't want to get in trouble. Then after a while, you just end up doing these things. And this part of you that doesn't feel comfortable, you've just gone along with it. And your life is either dull or you're depressed because you're following the rules and your life doesn't have any color in it at all. So this is what I want to talk about. Not so much people telling you what you should do, but telling you what you should value, what you should want. You have to pretend to want something. Pretend to want something, like you pretend to really want it, just so you keep mummy happy or your girlfriend happy or society happy. Hello to the regulars first. Hi, Rocket, Silva, David P, Peg, Boffin. Okay. So really, I encourage any of you who have your thoughts to join in this conversation if you would like me to respond and chat with you, not just afterwards on Discord, but and not just in the comments, but give your thoughts on this. If you had examples of when you realized the rules didn't apply to you and you knew why. You knew how you wanted to live. When you said no to your partner for the first time in a healthy way, when you said no to your parents, when you stood up for what you want and not just what everyone else wants. Hey, Big Ol. All right. So this is the question. What do you want from your own life? It's a large topic, but not really. It is, it seems large, but it is very tiny and one of the most important ethics by which you can develop your ethics, right? The way I see having a moral compass, morals to me are more to do with you in relation to other people. You have good morals out there in society, so you're polite with other people. Please, thank you, etiquette. You treat people the way you want to be treated. That's morality to me. That's healthy, reciprocal, fair morality to me. The golden rule, how you treat other people. Your ethics, rules to which you adhere. Your tabulation, your own personal 10 commandments that are inside you, what you want, how you want to live, what you're into, how much space you need on your own, what, you know what I mean? Like that, the internal value system you have inside yourself that doesn't really impose itself on other people, and people really have no right on telling you what those internal rules are and how you should live as a responsible adult who wants to, you want to be responsible for your own life. I pay my own bills. I live my own life. Do not tell me how to live and what to do. Those to me are your personal ethics. And the stronger and clearer they are, and the more you stand up for them, I feel the better quality of your life you have. If you live your life just by the moral compass of doing the right thing and always listening to everybody else, no matter what, and always putting yourself in second place, in my experience, and probably a lot of you guys, you don't have anything left over for your ethics, for what you want internally. They barely give you any space. That's why a lot of guys and girls are so lonely that they have to retreat to their own little bubble online, behind their computer, living on their own, in their own apartment or in their bedroom. Lock the door so you can have a little bit of color in your own private world, because they just take everything away from you, you know, trying to live outside with some of your internal values. Does that make sense? So let me, I posed the question, you know, about don't let other people tell you what you want, And some of the comments were from Luke. He said, or speak on your behalf. Now, I asked, can you clarify this, Luke? Do you mean don't let other people speak on your behalf? It was a very short response. If you can clarify that. Prince Revolver said, most of my morals I would attribute to my parents. Bits and pieces are from experience. I've gone against my morals, and it taught me 3 valuable lessons. 1, no one owes me anything. That's very good. 2, I can't control anyone else. Yes. And 3, I have to own the choices I make. The last bit is from like-minded people who have helped me refine and sharpen my morals. I think they're 3 great points, Prince Revolver. It insists that you control as much as you can, and you don't blame people in a lazy way like we see so many people doing. You know, all of the clown world you see on YouTube, the complainers, the people that are fun and ridiculous to watch, but also are the unfun and ridiculous people that we're dating or trying to date in the world. It's full of them. They're fun to watch and make fun of, but also they're the ones you bump into in the dating world. They're the ones you bump into in social situations, at barbecues, in your family, things like that. So from a distance, you can feel good about yourself by being a certain way away from them. But if you want to interact with the world, and I would say that being a social species, human beings, it's healthy to interact with people. Otherwise you go nuts in your own little private bubble. We see a lot of people doing that. Hey, Kung Fu Joe. Remember, if you'd like to ask a question, please put 3 smiley faces in front of your question. If you're in the stream like this, please. Let's see. David, he said, my parents were narcissists. So when I was growing up, my worldview was curated by them very meticulously. as I got older, I learned there were different perspectives and certainly different morals. Since their passings, I've developed my own moral code. Some of it is firmly rooted and some of it is still under construction. That's pretty healthy here. I'd say even the firmly rooted stuff, I would say, think of it as something that's tightly screwed down, but you can unscrew it as well. So it's immovable, but convinced and sharpened by better information to replace or refine what you firmly believe in, you can unscrew it and replace it with something else. So I think the healthiest mind has the ability to be flexible insofar as that you're not triggered and you're not afraid of other information. I see this with people who are highly, ridiculously and narrow-mindedly religious, where they really can't stand you questioning anything. Questioning any one of their principles isn't a friendly question, is a type of understanding, a curiosity, and those people want to tear you down. Those sort of insecure peoples, I think, will not only be never civilized enough to live in a world full of iPhones and internet, not comfortably anyway, and certainly not advanced enough to have fair, healthy relationships with other people. And this is what I'm trying to get across in my videos and my streams, is to think better about these choices we're making, especially in our personal relationships with people and how we want to live. Alonzo says, never attend a barbecue. They are a social nightmare. Exit stage right. Barbecues can be hard. Stephanie and I went to a party last night. It was really nice. And on the ride home, we talked about noticing the difference between when her, I, and one other person or two other people were talking, focused on a topic, an interesting topic, and when you just sit back and the whole room of 20 people are making noise that's supposed to be a conversation, but it's just general chit-chat and squealing, and it's a lot of noise that signifies nothing. And all you can kind of do there is just smile and listen. You're more of an observer in a big group at a barbecue or a party, where the only things people say are general noises that just keep the general group conversation going, if that makes sense. It's not a focused conversation. It was kind of odd for a person that's very interested in talkative. Stephanie and I always find ourselves in front of a big group of people in a social gathering. We don't talk. And when you have an active listening and active discussion with one or a couple of people really focused in on that kind of conversation, where people are respectfully listening and talking and processing the discussion and relating very connectedly, we talk the most and we listen the most. And it's the opposite. When the conversation gets bigger and bigger and bigger, we talk less and less. So that was an interesting observation we noticed. Okay. Rocket said, I divorced my other mic. What's wrong with this mic? I wanted to give another mic some love. This is actually, in terms of audio quality for a dynamic mic, for some of you technophiles out there, this is probably my most favorite, the most expensive, and the best dynamic mic for your bang for your buck that I have. It looks the cheapest, but it is actually one of the most expensive and best quality. For those of you who are interested, this is the Lewitt 550DM. There is I think a 950DM, which is the top of the line, but that's kind of the difference between that and the top of the line is like 10% to my ears. But the difference between this and the one below it is like 50 to 60%. So make of that what you will. Let me have a coffee. What do you guys think about people telling you what you should want? No, that's wrong, human. Why? Just feels wrong. Gives me the ick. It's not what you said, it's how you said it. All of that kind of comeback. It's like, no, I don't like it, and I can't live with somebody else thinking or acting and living differently to me. And this is a trap some of us who don't stand up for what we want fall into when we go on dates. We are used to people we respect, our parents, telling us what we should want and how to behave, and we do it because we respect them. And guys, instinctively, we respect women. We love women by default. We go on a date, we want her, she's beautiful, and we respect her automatically. And so we can't respond with who we are and what we want. She will say things and we will be agreeable. And that is a trap a lot of us fall into. So standing up for what you want does two things. You hear yourself righteously standing up for your principles and values. You feel good. The buzz you get when you verbalize what you want and what you believe in and what you will and won't do. Especially I remember when I started to decide that I was going to have the small courageous steps on dates of telling every date exactly who I am and what I want, regardless of like, well, this chick's a 10. Let me just tell a little bit of a white lie so I can spend a bit more time with her. Don't tell her everything. It's like, no, tell her everything. Tell her everything that's on your mind, and don't soften the message. Don't curate it. Don't leave anything out that you're consciously leaving out because you don't want to offend sensitive, beautiful princess that always gets what she wants because she's gorgeous. It feels so good you speaking and telling people exactly what you want and who you are, especially someone you really want. What you want comes first before, like in terms of what you want and who you are comes before what you want externally that may or may not reject you based on who you are. That's the trick, because if you always take the position of who you are and what you want comes first, and you have every right to be and say that, then if another person says no thank you, getting used to that kind of small loss and then moving forward and again telling people what you want and who you are to the next person, and then you start meeting people that do respect and like who you are and what you want. Same with saying no to your parents as you grow up and you finally, where you always said, yes, Dad, yes, Mom, of course, I'll go here with you, I'll go there, I'll go to church, I'll marry, I'll have kids, I'll do that. When you first say, no, I don't want to go, I don't believe in that, no, I'm going to do this. This is my life. Smile and tell them, Mom, Dad, come on. I'm a grown adult. I live on my own. I work. I pay my own bills. You want me to do this and that. Like if I do it, you're going to be responsible for it then. If it fails, you're going to take care of it. If I marry the person you want me to marry, you're paying for the divorce. I'm blaming you. Okay? And then they'll shut up. You'll see. Then they'll smile and shut up and realize what they're asking of you. You need to stand up for who you are and what you want. You'll know who your friends are. You will know who your friends are. I stood up recently for who I am and what I want when I revealed I got married. My friends that I talk to regularly understood, congratulated me. Even the people that thought that, yeah, don't agree with marriage as well, like I used to before, they were still my friends. The people who aren't my friends, the people who really don't think like me, they're not really the people that I have anything to say to. They didn't understand, and that's fine. Big ol', he left a message. What did he say? He said, in my experience, when you don't know what you want, you're the perfect target of other people's wants. Yeah. The world and everyone else knows what they want. Entitled women, governments, bosses, they'll tell you stay back, extra, overtime. But if you go, nah, sorry, I've got to go home, but we need you to stay back. Well, not enough notice. You should have, I can't stay last minute. I have things planned. You have to stand up for what you want. You have to value your time. You have to value people taking more than you're comfortable them taking. If you don't stand up for what you want and know what you want first, my discussions are all about thinking better and knowing what you want and being fair about it. You don't have to force other people to want what you want. But if you don't know, as Big Ol said, everyone around you that frustrates you, it annoys you, that makes you retreat back into your cave, they know what they want, even if it's unfair and ridiculous and entitled, and they will do their best to keep taking what they want from you. You need to relate more fairly. Want what you want. Don't take more than what is fair, what is reasonable from other people, but don't let people just take and want what they want from you. If you don't know what you want and stand up for it, other people will. Make no mistake. They're not going to leave you alone. The only way they do is the guys and girls online who lock themselves in their house and they become hermits and they don't talk to anyone and they just find little bubbles online where they can pretend to have a life. It's a very limited life. You have to insist that this world is yours and not just theirs. You can want to live any way you want. But you have to get over your fears of speaking up in regards to what you want and who you are. Across says, people will never shut up. People, regardless of gender, have a very strong tendency to always never be happy or at least content with what they currently have. Yeah. They'll want what they want like a little kid wanting chocolate cake. They'll scream. The red-headed idiots out there. Sorry, purple-headed, whatever color. There's some pretty people with red hair, but you know what I mean. The typical, the image that most people think of. Hey, Boffin. Also, remember, if you've got a microphone, if you know how to use Discord, jump on Discord after this stream. A bunch of us get on there and have a little bit of a chat. Some people stay for hours. But jump on and we can continue this discussion and talk about any other questions you might have aside from what I'm talking about today. But today's topic mostly is people telling you what you should want. That when you reasonably want to live a certain way and make certain choices, people say, no, that's incorrect. That's wrong. I don't like you. Most of the time, you are not objectively wrong. They just don't like it and they want to shame you to make you feel like you're objectively wrong. Okay. Let's go back to the comments. Actually, I can get rid of that here. Yeah, let me just go back to David's comment. He said, my parents were narcissists, so when I was growing up, my worldview was curated by their meticulous. As I got older, I learned that there were different perspectives. And yeah, you kind of grow, you get curious. I want to revisit his comment because I didn't say enough about it, I don't think. I just jumped onto my thoughts. Since their passing, I've developed my own moral code. Some of it is firmly rooted, some of it is still under construction. That's interesting. Isn't it interesting? After your parents pass, you give yourself more and more permission. A lot of us, me included, you break free from a lot of your submissive, deferring, kind of acquiescing, nice guy attitude of submitting to everyone else's wants and needs. And as those people disappear, you're more confident to come out of your shell and realize it's okay to say and do and be who you are. I noticed, I've relayed this before, when my father passed away a couple of years ago, that was a huge turning point for me. And I can imagine with you, David, when both of your parents passed away, how, sorry to hear their passing, but also the upside for you is the freedom where less people that you might have respect for, you don't want to completely disregard what your parents want. And sometimes you have to be polite in front of them in certain ways. But now there's no one to be polite in front of. You can be much more honest. And I kind of felt that to a large degree when my father passed away, where I I really said to myself, I am not going to lie to myself anymore. I'm going to do the best I can not to lie to myself anymore, because it's the root of most of our problems, and lying to yourself about what you really want and how you want to live. Because there's so many sayings and so many groups and people with clever memes online that will allow you to keep living a crappy life and not doing what you want, because the sayings sound reasonable and intelligent because they're worded beautifully. There's a lot of poetic, beautifully written memes out there that will keep you living a terrible life, or a life that's not really suited to you. You know, ones where you might be disciplined and trying to be healthy with food and diet. And a common saying, which is reasonable, is, well, you can't be too strict, or you have to be balanced, or you have to enjoy yourself in life. You can't, you know what I mean? There's always sayings to weaken your discipline, or to do the bad thing every once in a while, because we can't be David Goggins, but you know what I mean? Like there's no shortage of people telling you to not be too hard-headed in what you believe in and how you want to live and what you think is right. Because often when you take that bait, it kind of wipes the floor clean of every good thing you want to introduce into your life. If you want to, for instance, say you want to intentionally date to find a long-term partner and you're tired of all of this mess, you really want to find a good person that kind of pushes away all the craziness of dating and women and all the expectations. Like, you want to live a sane life. A lot of people say, well, I want that, but 10% of the time I'm going to hook up with fun psychos. What happens is that 10% becomes 99%, and you don't even open the door to finding anything serious. It consumes all of it. And you think, like, you know, I'm just going to cheat on my diet. I'm going to have a really strict, great diet all week, but on Sunday, I'm just going to go all out and I'm going to eat until I throw up. You know, it's kind of like you've got to be reasonable with these things. Okay, let me read some of these comments. Actually, I'll go to the next one. There was another one. What kind of avatar name is that, man? Did you just like smash your hand on the keyboard because you couldn't think of anything? QTV. That's not a word. You just smashed your hands on the keyboard. SQVT is unpronounceable. Sorry. But it may be so. There's 5% of an apology there because 95% of your avatar sounds ridiculous. Anyway, he says, or she says, when I was younger, I allowed a number of people to treat me this way, derailed my life for a long time. I somehow thought it was my duty to do what others want me to do. That is a trap a lot of guys especially do, because we value loyalty and honor much higher than generally women tend to. It's biological, it's historical, it's back when we were hunter-gatherers. You were loyal to people that invested time into you. Even if you've grown in different ways, you find it hard to let go. So being loyal to the past and people who have been loyal to you, you find it hard to kind of say, well, I still respect you, but I have to go in my own direction. You feel like you have to take them with you. And it's the similar thing with parents, with guys. We want to be our own man and go in our own direction, but we have to take our parents, or we feel we have to take everything about them. We have to act like we were a 5-year-old under their roof still to respect them. But the truth is, you don't have to. You respect them as the adult you are now, not as the 5-year-old you used to be. And I think that loyalty, honor thing for guys is really, really tough, because you think you're betraying good people, or people have done nothing to you, nothing wrong to you, like your parents. Guys, some of these comments, if you want to leave a comment with smiley face, I'm not sure what's the context of this. Purpose, or at least the illusion of one. I'm not sure what you mean. Can you elaborate across? So I'll reiterate, what do you want from your life? I'm not trying to be very woo-woo or memey, but as always, trying to calibrate people to think self-righteously. Stand up for the very fair things that no one should tell you what you want and how you want to live. If you're being fair and you're not taking from people, then sorry to use the word, but who gives a fuck what anyone thinks? In your mind, you need to push them away with those kind of words, because you deserve to, if you want to get married, if you want to have kids, if you're gay, if you're whatever, it's your life and you should live it the way you want. There'll be consequences to it. Later on, you live a certain way and you see your own light when you're too old and now you want kids, but you staunchly never wanted kids. Well, that's the choice you made and you need to live with it now. You are free to be and do whatever you want, but you are not free from the consequences of doing whatever you want. There are consequences to everything. And it's lovely and wonderful and liberating to do whatever you want and not make choices like a lot of people do and think that's freedom. It is. It's the starting block. It's the blank slate of an empty room where you're free to put in whatever furniture you want and make the room your own house, right? But there's too many people, they have empty rooms and they think that's living, that's freedom. Guys and girls online, like, oh, I don't date, I don't do this, I don't do that, I'm poor, I'm very, very minimal. You barely have one chair in your room to sit on. And you have the freedom of potential, but the potential to something is the point. You have this blank slate, freedom, minimalist place from which you can do anything, but don't isolate yourself there. The example I think of is people who are van lifers, who opt out of society. They buy a van, they sell everything, they go on the road, and very, very quickly, within a few days to weeks or months, they don't last. There's not very many people that go on the road and live in a van that do it for years and decades. Watch the YouTube channels. 99% of it is they're so excited for this holiday, this liberated freedom, this minimalist life of fuck the world, and I'm just going to be in my own little bubble and I'm not going to deal with people. But then they go crazy. They realize the restrictions. Freedom's one thing, but a minimalist life where you're restricted to such an extent that you have to subsist with such a small, to the crumbs of life, just so you're not hurt, just so the other people don't impose too much of themselves on you. I don't agree with that. I got sucked into it a little bit. Not sucked into it. There are healthy aspects to minimalism. There are healthy aspects to taking a holiday. There are healthy aspects to all of that stuff, but in context and for a certain amount of time. Holidays are great to refresh and regenerate and think and then come back and adjust. But as I often say, you can't live on holiday. You have to know where home is and what it looks like. You need to know what you want and who you are. You can't just repeat memes and abstain from life. Big Ol says, finding your own values is a uniquely male experience. Not necessarily. It is much more common for guys to think philosophically through this than women, sure, but it's not uniquely male, I wouldn't say, but it's much more common with guys. Even in chimpanzees, it's observed that young females will unquestionably copy their mothers. Sons will rebel and defy their fathers. Yeah, I would take observations in the animal kingdom with a grain of salt. Sometimes they're instructive, but all you have to do is point to other animal species that are ridiculous, and you wouldn't want to mimic them. Look at the bonobos. You can say, well, look at them. Yeah, let's all be like the male bonobo. I don't think so. The human species would disappear really quickly. Look at the hippo. I think we tend to cherry pick what looks attractive. Like men tend to cherry pick certain animals, especially where the male leads a life that looks attractive. But I would take the animal world and all data science, all the STEM-based subjects. In terms of information, you can edify yourself to a degree and take some stuff away, but be reasonable about the applicability to what we're talking about, how you as a civilized human ape is able to implement it into their lives, and how it may or may not make your life better. There are a lot of very academically intelligent, far higher IQ people than me online that I've talked to that are living terrible lives in squalor, in a one-bedroom apartment, in a neighborhood where the train's running over them next to their window, but they're smart enough to know better just because they're trying to push the world away and have some peace. And I find that most people aren't as smart as they think they are because they refuse to adapt to a life that's healthier. They would rather keep putting in earplugs and blocking out noise rather than move to somewhere that they don't need to put in earplugs in to push the noise away or push the chaos away or fight against women or the governments or whatever, you know. Across says, this is where I was asking him to clarify. I mean about your statement about loyalty. If you make a man believe they have a purpose, you can either be the best thing that ever happened to them or be the worst thing that came. Yes, yes. Also, don't forget, a lot of the sects, groups, political parties, all of those kind of groups that you find your way in or people find their way in, and it gives them a lot of answers. The bottom level, the entry level into those groups are wonderful. They give you accurate, enlightening, great self-help. Look at the first level of Scientology. It's fantastic. It gives you really great, liberating self-help that would help anybody. It's enough to get you through the door, but then you get Stockholm syndrome and you can't leave. And in a lot of ways, the crabs in the bucket won't let you leave. It's the same with, there's certain parts of the manosphere that are like that. There's like the feminists, there's like political groups, there's all these sects and religions that in the door, there's the base level of getting through is wonderful. The 10 Commandments are great. The basic foundational precepts of these groups and sects and religions are great. That's why they stand the test of time. But aside from that, you go up the hierarchy and it's ridiculous. It's narrow-minded. It's scared. It's unreasonable. They keep protecting the structure instead of the truth. Kung Fu Joe. All right. How long have we been going for? Nearly 40 minutes. This might be a stream under an hour. I don't think this is too much of a deep philosophical discussion, but the more I'm talking about these subjects, I find the most important. How to think and how to make choices, which will help you solve so many of the problems, like how you speak to women, whether you go on a date or not. Like, I know I talk about those lower level subjects that are more relatable and they require less intellect or less considered thinking and less responsibility. I feel like these topics that would help so many guys and even girls be more responsible with their thinking and fair and reciprocal and use the golden rule. At the very least, if you want to throw everything away, just consider the golden rule with everything you do around people. Anything that frustrates you with other people, and you'll eliminate a lot of your problems if you stick with that principle. But it amazes me how few people have anything to say about the thinking. And when I talk to some of the people that just repeat stats and memes and really good sayings, they don't have much experience about, I never hear from their mouth, well, my boss at one point kept pushing me to stay back, for instance. And I was frustrated. And then at one point I said no, and I said, I can't anymore. You need to give me notice. Like, I don't hear many empirical real world examples of people testing these frustrating principles out, making a stand, and then starting to speak these things to their bosses, their parents, girlfriends, dates. And then their lives are better as a result of using these things ethically, using these principles out there. People just keep talking about what they won't do anymore, what's unfair, or how stupid this person is, or that how dumb that is, but not what you can do, because when you start talking about what you can and should do, you're left with, well, I need to do it now. I can't unsee what I've seen. I can't unchoose what I've decided to choose and do now. But if you keep refraining from going past that and then actually saying, well, there's nothing left but actually doing this stuff and saying this stuff and standing up for myself, knowing what my boundaries are, knowing what my ethics are, the rules to which I live my life, and I know what my moral code is, and I have every right to speak to other people. And I don't have to be afraid of my father, my mother, my boss, chicky poo, especially someone I don't know. And you get rid of so much fear that allows you to think and speak better. Just so many of your problems effortlessly get solved by being able to speak and think better. But first you have to know what you want. And I don't think it's too woo-woo or esoteric. It used to be a very common philosophy, and people used to speak much more like this. Even the average bricklayer and checkout, maybe not checkout chick, but the average worker of your grandparents' generation, their vocabulary and their way of thinking about thinking and speaking and acting properly in life. Look on YouTube, any interviews by news reporters, they take the microphone to even the poorest neighborhoods of America or England, people with like half the teeth missing out of their mouths. They might look and sound a little bit ridiculous, but when they ask them questions, they could, in a very basic way, communicate to a certain level like I'm trying to do in my videos and these streams. Across says, oddly enough, this is getting more and more on the realms of how do you feel and not how philosophical it can get. Like, do you feel okay letting people tell you how you should live your life? I don't know. Well, that's important too. When someone says something or you see something, you get a feeling and you should learn to process it. And if you know how to process and think and speak about it. So I don't think we should disregard our feelings, but we should know how to rein them in, process them, and know how to act, think, and speak about them as well. It's not just feelings. There's too many guys that like, I'm not going to feel. I'm going to be pre-programmed how I respond to a structurally correct way of responding, regardless of, in that situation, how I feel. So a lot of the guys, give an example, is no single mothers, right? Good principle, because there's a lot of dangers about dating a single mother. I get it. But you go into there without, I'm going to disregard my feelings and I'm going to disregard what's in front of me, because my rule is no single mothers. You meet someone who is a single mother. She's perfect for you. She's a great person. Her child is well behaved, older, almost going to leave the home. Ostensibly, you don't want to adjust your firm belief because you've gone with expectations and you're unable to adjust to what you see, how you feel, take a breath, process it, and then judge based on all of that. We can't go to every situation like a robot, pre-programmed with the most perfect mathematical and stoic ways of reacting regardless, because that means you go through life ignoring what's in front of you. You might as well ignore every joke that anyone says in front of you, because you tell yourself, well, I am not going to laugh at any joke. So whatever you hear, you're going to force yourself not to laugh, because you are not going to live in that, sorry to use the cliche, you're not going to live in that moment of enjoying the moment you're in and being able to responsibly have boundaries around it, knowing it's okay to laugh, but knowing that this single mother isn't as dangerous as other single mothers. There are degrees, and that comes with processing your feelings and what's in front of you. So learning all this information is great, but don't be a stubborn 5-year-old with it. Don't be one of these stubborn idiots who like, I just like my football team and I hate every other football team. And so when the other football team does a great kick or hits a great shot, you have to pretend it wasn't a great shot. You have to say like, no, they're still crap. It's like, that was a great shot. You need to objectively appreciate or detest something objectively, not just coming to every moment with a prescription. Regardless, you're not enjoying life as you go forward. You really aren't. Because I can tell you, if you told me the story, if I had a friend that said no single mothers, right? And fine, very reasonable, because objectively, in general, it's a bad idea. And that would be the last, really way down the list of candidates. If you've got the freedom as a single guy with not much baggage, structural baggage in your life, you come across a woman who has more structural baggage than you, as in a child. And I don't care, you women that say, oh, my child's not a baggage. In the eyes of someone else who doesn't have that, he doesn't need to accommodate that, it is baggage. Not in a negative way, but it's something extra he has to accommodate that he never had to accommodate anymore. Just in the same way, a woman doesn't need the baggage of a guy living at home with his parents. The guy doesn't see his parents as baggage. He loves his parents, but to you it's baggage. So let's be reasonable. But if my friend came to me and said like, no single mothers, and then he tells me about this great girl, shows me a photo, she's gorgeous. He tells me everything is great, but he says, well, you know, my rule, I really wanted to, there's nothing stopping me, but you know the rule. To me, that's a person that I really can't, I probably wouldn't be a close friend to that person, because I wouldn't be able to share my inner world and talk broadly and question my own assumptions with him, and likewise expect them to be open to questioning assumptions. And so I would call him a bit of a fool. I would say, yeah, I know no single mothers because we think of the worst case scenario, but this is not just the least dangerous single mother on that list. She's also the most compatible person you've ever met in your life. She's perfect for you. And there's very little to tolerate. Even the kid is an adult and he's self-sufficient. And it's great. But you religiously, that's your rule. And you know what will happen? Most likely, my theoretical friend in this case will continue to date all these other incompatible train wrecks, complain, and towards the end of his life, when he's trying to go to bed and thinking, he'll be thinking about that girl he never said yes to. And in the meantime, he'll be on manosphere channels, probably like bitching about the world, women, and all this kind of stuff, and everything's, none of it's his fault because he adhered to the rules, the perfect rules to get the perfect person, which doesn't exist, and that I know the reality of trade-offs and getting what you want the most and things like that. But anyway, reality is there's no perfection. There are trade-offs and you have to be reasonable. What can you live with? What can you live with? Across says, I'm not saying it's wrong. I mean, contrary to what anyone may say about them male species, humans are emotional. Oh yeah, they are. That's why I say we need to take that into context. Even us as men. I think men run themselves into so many problems because they don't take their emotions seriously. You don't have to take them like women do. Like they're your emotions as a guy, and you have every right to process them and feel them. You have every right to get excited about your football team if you're into football. You have every right to be excited about your car and not be shamed about working on your car and loving your car. Fuck what anyone else thinks. But your emotions, what you love, who you are, and what you choose and how you want to live, righteously stand up for it. And then you'll stand up for your friends much better. Then you'll stand up for and know who to love and stand up for them. Then you know what's worth it. But these blind principles that people religiously adhere to without question, and then they get something great in their lives that, you know, would really be good for them, and they're worried about the shame they're going to get from their group or their parents or someone. They're going to make it difficult for them to enjoy something that they really need and want in their own lives that really doesn't have much or anything to do with these other people that are shaming them. If you don't stand up for your values and principles and what you really want, as I think it was Big Ol who said, that other people, there's no shortage of other people that will do that, and they will. They will tell you how to live because they want to take from you. They enjoy you spending your time living the way they want you to live. It makes their life more comfortable and your life less comfortable. You think that I'll accommodate other people more and more and more all the time. I'll use my time. I'll be nice. And then they'll appreciate it. Then they'll reciprocate. And how many times does that happen? It doesn't. So often in past relationships, whether it was like with girlfriends, family, friends, or whatever, you give, and you think, well, they're going to reciprocate. And then when it comes time, you want a little bit, it doesn't come back. They've got the excuse you should have given at the start. They're like, yeah, I don't want to do that, man, bro. Like, I didn't enjoy doing that. You do that on your own. And I'm thinking, well, I did that with you. I remember a friend that he recommended a book. And I knew I didn't like the book. I didn't like the book, but I wanted to be open-minded. It looked mildly interesting, but it was like just very basic. It was basic self-help in a direction that I don't find edifying at all. And I did it because I wanted to honor my friend, and I wanted to be good to him. And then I noticed afterwards, any little thing I asked him to do, can you move my car? I can't. Or read this post on this thing. It's really interesting. I don't, that stuff's stupid. I haven't got time to do that. So you notice that people really use you, are happy to use you. And the nicer you are, a lot of times it doesn't come back. The moment it doesn't, learn how to cut it off. Have I finished my coffee? Anyway, any last comments? Let's wrap this stream up. You know what? I feel like a lot of these philosophical topics that I think are very important, not that you need to think my way, but I feel like there's not many people that want to join in the discussion of this. I'm happy and I can talk all the time about this because it's important to me. And I insist on this. This is the kind of stuff that's helped my life be more my life and me have less stress in my life. And I'm amazed at how many crickets I get in response. And it shows me why men and women tend to have the problems they have in relationships. Because they don't discipline themselves as much as they can. And again, we're not perfect. And they don't speak this stuff, and they don't want to stand up for these principles. They don't want to speak and think better. Theoretically, they do. A lot of people are very smart and they post lots of memes and make YouTube channels where they talk about the black pill and they talk about feminism and the manosphere and stuff, like all these perfect worlds of how things should be. But not about how I am going to make my world, my little world, great. Not much of that. It's constructing utopias and pointing at other utopias that are ridiculous. We can point at chicks that think they're 10s when they're really 3s. That's their world. But then you don't look at your world and like, how realistic is your world? Anyway. Across, he says, we as human beings do want acceptance by others. Yep, that's important too. I won't disregard that. Even if we can live independently from them, what a marvelous existence we are, yeah. But again, at the end of the day, it comes down to where you're going to lean the most. We are a social species, so we do enjoy the support and the dynamic between each other. We are not a solitary species. That's a fact. I won't discount that. But what can you live with, and how much acquiescence to other people are you prepared to do? Hot Ice says, would seem to me that MGTOW occurs against the people who want to control how other people think. Yeah, in principle, if you look at what the base principles of MGTOW are, yeah. It's why I was happy to call, to label myself that, and for other people to call me that and be part of that group back in the day. But now they shame you if you don't live your life and go the way you want. You can't speak to them. You're ostracized from the group. They tell you you cannot, like, even if you say, okay, I won't call myself that, but can I speak with you guys? Can I speak without, apes flinging feces at me because they want to ridicule my choices and what I want to do? No, then it's not a civilized place to speak. Just look at the response videos I got a couple of months ago from the brothers, or who used to be my brothers before. But it's about freedom and going your own way. Wholeheartedly approve of and will champion that principle of a man going his own way. Love it. I will never badmouth what MGTOW stands for. I won't. End of the social contract. What does that mean, Kung Fu Joe? I mean, MGTOW rails against those people who want to control thought. That is why they hate it and try to tangle men up in conversation. I don't think they consciously try and tangle men up in conversation. I think that MGTOW is a great space for guys to finally vent and talk about what troubled them and the unfairness and stuff, but it becomes a crabs in the bucket unintentionally, just by the people that are in there. As I said, I feel the quality of the people that were making MGTOW content that happily labeled themselves as such was much more mature and at a higher, more sophisticated level than it is today. Again, I could be wrong. I haven't watched many people, but I've watched some videos recently of those guys. And tell me about you'll probably pick out a few MGTOW guys that are reasonable, and I'll probably say, yeah, they're great, they're fine, they're giving that base level of, here's your, you can do whatever you want, brother, and go that way and do whatever you want and all that stuff, and it's great. But I don't see very many. It forced pretty much all of us who used to make MGTOW content that were the most well-known back in the day. Ask any of us, none of us call ourselves that anymore, or we've been pushed out and we're tired of fighting about the definition. Who cares? I want to talk about the concepts around that campfire of MGTOW, but now it's become a sect, and I have no interest, as most of my counterparts or previous counterparts also, they don't have any interest in defending the acronym anymore. The principles behind it, sure, but MGTOW is honestly, to me, the most stoic approach, and it's more at its more, what does that mean? At its core, it's just simply saying, no more, I am done, have fun, I'm going off now. Yeah, I'm thinking for myself, I really like that stance. That's a great starting block to become a better guy and not to be taken advantage of. I agree. But unfortunately, apart from that entry level, just like Scientology, the entry level is great. Afterwards, the quality control within MGTOW is overcast, as mildly as I can put it, is very, very overcast. All right, I think we'll wrap this up. We've gone to nearly an hour. Beautiful. I can end the stream in an hour. Let's actually do it instead of me talking for another 15 to 20 minutes. So any last comments, because we've got a minute delay in the stream so it doesn't buffer and you can hear me in real time. And we'll wrap this thing up. Let's see. I think I've answered all the questions I have that you guys have left. Remember that previous to the streams, usually a day or two before these streams during the week, it's usually on like anywhere between like a Thursday to a Saturday. In my community tab, I post a question, a leading post to this stream where the topic I'm talking about, I'm asking for your opinion so you guys can interact more and I can read your comments out while you discuss things with me as Across has done today. So thank you for showing up. For those of you with a microphone, jump on Discord, link below this video and in my About section. And let's further the discussion about people telling you what you should want and how you should live. And I think these kind of foundations, this way of standing up for yourself and always acknowledging that I have a right in any interaction. You speak with your parents, you talk to your boss, you speak to Chicky Poo, anybody, the group online, you're part of a group like MGTOW. You have a question. You're respectful. You say, hey guys, let me play devil's advocate. What about if blah, 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 and you say something in opposition or you're questioning something. If you get dogpiled, if you get shamed, you just say, well, I just asked a reasonable question. I wasn't rude. I wasn't spitting at anyone. And this is the response I get. Insist on at least half of every interaction being you, and you have every right to. And then you'll hopefully stand up for yourself. It helped me a lot when I did that. I have at least half the right in every interaction I'm in. Doesn't matter who it's with. Doesn't matter what group it's with. It's me and them, me and her, me and him. Don't tell me it's all you. And that's why I had less and less problems as I adopted that stance in relationships. Because however a woman wanted to shit test me or make me feel shamed or use the normal bait and switch and gaslight me, it's like, no, I know what's going on. Answer the question. Why can't I have a say? Why can't I say, let me think about it? Stop blackmailing me. If they put you on the spot, well, you need to tell me, where's this relationship going? I don't know how to answer that. Let me think about it. Well, you should be able to tell me, like, I need an answer now. It's like, I haven't got an answer now. I can't think about it. You've been thinking about this and you're blackmailing me in the moment. You're pressuring me. Again, you have half the right in every interaction and relationship to have a say, pause, think about it, whatever it might be. Don't be unfair. Don't be a coward, but don't let yourself be told what you should want and how you want to live. Anyway, let's end the stream. Across says, yeah, I was quite a bit spammy. Apologies for that. No apologies necessary. Across, no one else was commenting. You guys need to comment more. You don't have to, again, do what you want. But I would appreciate you being a bit more interactive with this stuff, because I think these kind of conversations are the umbrella fixes for so much of the smaller things like women, jobs, parents, all these other things that frustrate you with the world that sort of imposes itself on you. Anyway, let's talk more about it on Gilded. And yeah, I'm out. Have a good weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Give me a like. Join the channel. I'll see you in the next video, which is going to drop soon, either today or tomorrow. It's connected to this. It's about me having a recent conversation, but a conversation I've commonly had with many guys who are in these MGTOW groups, but they're so narrow-minded. And it's the same kind of mindset I hear with highly religious people or feminists or parents or people who are stuck in a time period where they cannot talk to you like a reasonable human being, even if you're trying to be reasonable. Even academic people who are very smart and they've read a lot, and you cannot be reasonable with them. I've just finished recording a video about that. about the frustration of not being able to talk to people who are supposedly even intelligent. They're just almost well-read 5-year-olds. So yeah, stay tuned for that, dropping soon today or tomorrow. And I'll see the rest of you on the Discord server, free server. Come with a microphone and let's have a chat. Have a good weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye.